here for match 1. Sounds alright. Definitely keeping this. Okay, turn on Goblin God. Heals a land. DRC go. It's got a night one. So as much as I would like to get the extra prowess trigger on Swift Spear here, I just think it's more important to not take the extra 2 damage. Alright, so what is our reality here? Guess we play Amped Raptor, see what we hit. Go ahead and put for a decent amount here. Bolt into Skewer or something. Of course. Alright. Bring in the Mage Banes. Go down Lava Darts. And the Festivities might be okay. Sorry, Pick Your Poison not in the Festivities. Yeah, seems fine. Play fetch land, hold up the ability to bolt or galvanic discharge something. Otherwise, fetch a surveil land, commercial district. It's a fairly reasonable card. Sure. Mm-hmm. And go. Mm-hmm. Sure. Kind of hard to beat when Burn has these ridiculous draws. Alright, second match. Finishing up this last bit of league before Duskmorn comes out on MTGO. And sand is fine. We are on the draw, which kind of sucks, but in there's your get the deck, so could very easily be Energy. Do. Definitely keeping the 7. Yeah, looks like we're up against good old-fashioned Boros. The could be Chesscat too, I suppose, but looks like Boros. Sure. What would we need to hit here? Don't think the odds are high. My opponent has a second Ragavan. Good card, but I don't think it's really the one we want here. Raptor and Amped Raptor. The One Ring. Mm-hmm. Okay. pass. Obviously we can't attack here. Hammed Raptor. Goddess Souls. Yep. Into Bamba. Plus 12 here. No copy of One Ring, of course. Okay. Sure. One of the cards in the hand is the One Ring. And we lose to Hasty Flage. Festivities and Tormod's Crypts. Crash Through isn't all that great in this matchup. Good Poison, I suppose, is terrible. First. the one lander. Try this one lander, though I'm not very thrilled about it. Sure. Yep. Come on. So many things could blow them out here. I don't see them blocking. Just with lava dart here. Hopefully your opponent plays like something like a Dash Ragadan or Goddess Souls or anything but frickin' a Johnny. Mm-hmm. My opponent's test here. Can only assume they wouldn't transform a Johnny here. It's possible we should just Galvanic Discharged either a Johnny or Goddess Souls' turn instead of playing Swift Spear. Stack Prism, sure. Okay. Your opponent for 2. Our opponent to 7, but what's their follow-up? Another Johnny. No reason to make it easier for him. Naturally. Since I'm doing that. Yep. Pass. Yay. Alright, so let's take a quick wrap at Prowess in general. I'm going to be talking about, obviously, the two matches that we saw here, but really Prowess in general, whether it be the Teamer variety, the Gruul variety, the Energy, or the Prowess version. Prowess version obviously being the combo-esque version with double strike and all that nonsense, and the Energy version being the more unstable amulets, amped raptor build with galvanic discharge. The problem with, I think, both Burn and Prowess is the best mid-range decks in the format are turn 4 aggro decks. They have life gain, they have disruption, they have the One Ring, so you can't really beat them by going underneath of them terribly much because they have a ton of removal spells, galvanic discharge, lightning bolt, static prison. Can't really go over the top of them because, well, they have Flage and the One Ring. As far as your speed, whether you're Burn, your Gruul Prowess, Teamer Prowess, or Gruul, not Infect, but Gruul Combo Prowess, your fastest draws are typically turn 3. Your normal draws are typically turn 4. And so you're in this kind of weird spot where you can't outgrind the mid-range decks. You can't go underneath them, can't go over the top of them. which really puts aggro of any type at a pretty bad spot in the meta. We'll take a look at kind of the meta overall view here in a minute, but you know, however you slice it, Prowess is not in a good spot. Burn's not in a good spot. Traditional aggro just, it already struggled even before the banning of Fury and MH3 coming out. And while technically Boros Midrange or Boros Energy is kind of an aggressive deck, it does have a bunch of creatures in it, so you can't say creature decks can't succeed. You know, Nadu was a creature deck. Yawgmoth to a certain degree has succeeded. You know, Amulet Titan. So, you know, there are creature decks that can exist, but even with new tools for Prowess like Slick Shot and stuff, like really, I think somebody mentioned that the best way to try to win these matchups is with the Prowess version, and just try to one-shot them with Slick Shot or one-shot them with a Monastery Swift Spear. Kind of hope they get, you know, careless and tap out. That's honestly how we've kind of won quite a bit of our games. But your deck's in this weird spot where you cannot grind decks, you can't go underneath of them. It's like, really, what is the kind of the point of playing aggro at the moment? I totally agree Nado needed to go. Grief, you know, at the current time, I don't think it was overpowered, but, you know, it's now been banned in Legacy. It's a card that could certainly be problematic, you know, bolstering things like Living End, Groyos. Obviously, Rakdos Scam was a big deck for a long while. But MH3 has just obviously completely rewritten the kind of the modern meta overall. I mean, if you look at Goldfish the last 30 days, you know, the two energy decks are the top dogs. Dimir Murktide being number 3, Just Got Control, which is basically another energy deck. So basically, energy decks are making up 28% of the winner's meta. You have 10% Dimir Murktide. You have 3 different Eldrazi decks making up about 12% of the meta. And then, you know, you have Amulet Titan, which, you know, Titan does have the speed to compete with the format, especially with Nadu no longer being a consistent turn 3, or just no longer existing, but there being no longer too many other consistent turn 3 combo decks. And then Domain Zoo is kind of the one that stands out to me a little bit. I guess the positive with Domain Zoo is the fact that just individually it kind of overpowers a lot of what, like, its individual cards just kind of are reasonable into some of this other nonsense. And, you know, can play things like Consigned to Memory for the Eldrazi matchups. You know, you get to play Pyroclasm for Boros Energy. You know, you have Leyline Binding. You get to play Flage and Scion. The Scion package is pretty good against any type of aggro decks. And so you get to play individually powerful cards, and there isn't a ton of pick your poisons out there right now. So, you know, when you're a deck that gets to basically play all the good hate cards like Sun Cleanser, you get to play Consigned to Memory, you know, you get to obviously play something like Obsidian Sharmaw. I can see how this deck could be fairly well positioned. It's still a turn 4 deck, and just the fact that you know, a lot of the other aggro decks that could potentially compete with this just really aren't part of the format. And then Mono Black Midrange, obviously you have it's still trying to rebuild after the loss of Grief, but it does still have both Necro Dominance and the One Ring. Grinding Station obviously being Underworld Breach, Grinding Station combo with, you know, Ragavan, Tameo, that kind of stuff. And, you know, decks like Yawgmoth and Tron are obviously trending down, Merfolk existing, and then Twiddlestorm. You look at the rest of the format, you know, basically these are kind of all the decks that were tier stuff before all the bannings in MH3. And you finally look into, you know, Boros Burn being 0.5% of the meta, Gruul Energy being 0.5% of the meta, Gruul Prowess being 0.3% of the meta, and then, you know, some of these other decks, I don't really see Teamer. There's a copy of Teamer Prowess, which guessing 9-7. So it's been a minute since this deck's had a finish. So I mean, none of the decks that we've been playing on the channels are particularly good. And then I really shouldn't be remiss in mentioning Ruby Storm, another turn 3 combo deck. So basically the format's become turn 4 mid-range decks, spiritual successor to Murktide, basically replacing the red cards with more effective black cards, and then a combo deck with Ruby Storm, some ridiculous ramp decks in Eldrazi, and then Amulet Titan being what Amulet Titan always does, Domain Zoo really kind of being the only deck that's kind of risen above it all. I mean, obviously part of the fact is that Scion Leyline gets around literally all this interaction other than see counter spells. Domain Zoo is like the one deck that just stands out to me and be like, that and Garroyos, I guess. Living In continues to exist despite taking multiple hits. The only reason I can suspect this deck is still around is, besides the fact that people like Sodek and Minino continue to work on the deck, is just simply the fact that the deck is good against creature decks. It's a turn 3, quote-unquote turn 3 combo deck. And has, despite the loss of grief, still has a pretty decent amount of disruption. 4 Ardent Plea, 4 copies of Shardless Agent, and then 2 copies of Press into the Enemy. You get to run a very low land count with a couple MDFCs and a bunch of land cyclers. So I honestly don't know, as a Prowess and Burn player, how to even attack this meta right now. Basically every version that we've tried, I've been on about a week and a half, 2-week hiatus here. Obviously content's still been coming out, but I stepped away from the game for a couple weeks because of some family member had surgery, and it's only 2 matches. Granted, one was against a budget version of Burn and one was against Boros Energy. And it just, when the friendly leagues are even getting flooded by Boros Energy, it's just like, what are we even doing with this format? So, yeah. Hopefully, I really haven't taken a look at Duskmourn. I doubt there's going to be anything in there that significantly sways Modern. Yeah. I mean, the format clearly has a decent balance, but there's like so many of the One Ring decks, and I mean, Boros Energy just got control. Ruby Storm doesn't really play the One Ring much. Through the Breach, Eldrazi Tron, Amulet, Eldrazi Ramp, Mono Black, Necrodominance, Grinding Station, Tron. I mean, so many of these decks are either turn 3 combo or turn 3/4 mid-range decks backed up by the One Ring, and I just don't know how aggro decks compete with that. All that to say that, but yeah, if anybody has any lists they've had some success with of the Prowess or Burn variety, kind of sound off in the comments about it. Give me some details about why your list has been doing particularly well, because honestly I'm kind of a loss right now. But anyways, if you like modern content, especially of the Prowess variety, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for our next video.